All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to talk about the characteristics of life as it relates to specifically to your biology class. So the biology is the study of all living things. And so here are some examples. We got some like bacteria right here. In that picture, I think this is maybe a paramecium, P-A-R-A. You don't need to know what these are, and I'm probably spelling paramecium wrong. These are just some examples. A tree, a mushroom, and let's go ahead and clarify that a mushroom is not a plant. Mushroom is not a plant. It grows in the ground, but it is not a plant. And we have a fish, which is also a living thing. I'm just going to write Nemo because he looks like Nemo. And it looks like this guy's a little grasshopper. Oh, grasshopper, cute little guy. So all of those are examples of living things. They all meet all the criteria of a living thing. We go from very simple bacteria to more complex, like the fish and the grasshopper. The tree is actually a pretty complex organism, as is a mushroom. So let's go through the characteristics that all living things have in common. So the first thing is all living organisms are made of cells. So a cell is the smallest unit of organization in a living thing, and cells perform functions necessary for life. Cells can be unicellular. Uni is a prefix for one, so think of like a unicycle. A unicycle has one wheel. A unicellular has one cell. Organisms can also be multicellular. So they can be made out of more than one cell. Multi means more than one cell or more than whatever. So like a multivitamin has more than one type of vitamin. Has usually all the essential vitamins that typically a human needs. Okay, so unicellular organisms, these are the simplest level of life. Some examples are bacteria. Bacteria can be good and they can be bad. You've got bacteria that help you digest food. You also got bacteria that make you sick. So good and bad, just like, some people are good, some people are bad. It's not always all good or all bad. Paramecium and amoebas. Multicellular organisms, these are what we generally interact with on a daily basis because we can see multicellular organisms. They're more complex, so dogs and trees and, people. We are multicellular. So we have many cells that are organized into tissues, which make up organs, and organs, which make up systems. So for example, muscle tissue makes up the stomach. We don't typically think about the stomach as being a muscle, but it is. Okay, so muscle tissue makes up the stomach, which is an organ, and then the stomach is part of the digestive system. So the digestive system includes like your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, and your intestines, and so all your digestive system includes all of those things. So the stomach is part of that entire system. Okay, so functional or working cells are absent from non-living matter. So if you see a piece of wood floating down a river, that wood is no longer considered alive because the cells no longer work. All right, so in order for something to be alive, the cells have to function. So you must have functioning cells in order to be alive. Okay, once cells stop functioning, the organism is no longer alive. They have expired. Okay, all living organisms reproduce. So reproduction is the ability to produce offspring, which is like the scientific word for children. Okay, reproduction is not essential for the surviving of an individual organism, but it is essential for the continuation of the species. Okay, so if we have a species that cannot reproduce, they lost that ability for whatever reason, that species is going to go extinct. So there are two types of reproduction: asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay. Asexual reproduction means a single organism can reproduce without the aid of another. So the offspring produced by asexual reproduction are identical to the parent. So asexual reproduction occurs in bacteria, protists, and fungi. So real simple explanation, you have a bacteria. This bacteria is going to split in half and form a new cell. So there you go. So these two, this cell and this cell, are identical to the parent cell. Sexual reproduction means that two cells, an egg and a sperm, unite to produce a new organism. And what's important here is that the offspring are not identical to the parent. So this is how plants and animals reproduce. So sexual reproduction is good, excuse me, is beneficial because there is an exchange of genetic information. Okay, so sexual reproduction has an exchange of genetic information. Asexual reproduction, there is no exchange of genetic information. All right, good to go. All right, growth and development. Growth means that there's an increase in the amount of living material. So babies grow into toddlers. That's an example of growth because the baby's cells are making new cells to grow, and that happens because of our friend mitosis. Yay, mitosis. A snowball grows larger when you roll it in snow, not because the snowball is making new snowball cells. You're just adding snow, okay? It's just putting more snow together. There's no cellular reproduction, cellular activity that's happening to make that snowball grow. Development includes all the changes that take place during the life of an organism. So, babies learning to walk, that's an example of a development. Learning to talk, learning to feed yourself, those are all examples of development. Changing from a teenager to an adult, that is development. Okay, so that's changes that take place just over time during the life of the organism. All right. All living things must obtain and use energy. So all living organisms need energy to power metabolism. Metabolism is the processes of life, things that have to happen in order for life to occur. So metabolism is the name for anabolic. Anabolic is making material. If you think about anabolic steroids, they make muscle. They make muscles grow bigger in people who take them. So metabolism includes anabolic processes as well as catabolic processes. A catabolic process is a process that breaks down material. So there's two ways to get energy. You can get energy being an autotroph. Autotrophs get energy from the sun through photosynthesis. So that are our friends the plants and bacteria, just a couple of bacteria, not very many. And then heterotrophs obtain energy from the food. Basically, anything other than a plant is going to be a heterotroph. Okay. Living organisms are going to be able to respond to the environment. So a stimuli is anything that causes an organism to react. Some examples of stimuli: light, temperature, smell, taste, sound, touch. All of those are stimuli that you respond to. When you're in a dark room and someone turns on the light, you do that, turn the light off, and raise your hand in front of your face. You are reacting to a stimuli. Temperature: if it's cold, you shiver. If it's hot, you sweat. That is you responding to a stimuli. Sound: when your alarm clock goes off, you respond by trying to turn that thing off so you can go back to sleep. Okay, so things, objects, organisms rather, that are alive are going to respond to their environment. And then homeostasis. Organisms that are alive have to maintain homeostasis, which means that there is a stable internal environment. Okay, so examples: sweat, when your internal temperature gets too hot. Another example is your pancreas releases insulin when your blood sugar level gets too high. So your body is constantly monitoring your internal environment to make sure that it's stable and it's where everything should be in the in that normal quote-unquote range. And I believe that will finish us up for the characteristics of life. We will continue our discussion of this the next time we meet, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.